As you share, put some clothing on so that we can see you. Face it that way. Face it that way because it makes an echo. I think it makes an echo. Yeah, I think now it won't make an echo. I think so. Okay. It's a good thing you're telling me, Danny. Just record. Let me start my recording. Okay, everybody said. Where were you? Everybody hears me? Okay, not you guys. I know you guys here. Okay. As everybody said, let me tell you two things before we start the big shiloh today, the Bir Halacha. Number one is that I'd like to explain one thing. I know that the Olam is pretty mispoiled that we said a very big chiddush here. A very big chiddush about what it says in Dafnei Nezer. And then afterward, we saw what it says in the Mekevus HaMishnah. The Mekevus HaMishnah is in Perek Yud Halacha Tes. Yeah, Perek Yud Halacha Tes. Maybe Tes Halacha Yud. No, Perek Yud Halacha Tes. So we saw a very big chiddush. Even now, I'll admit, it's definitely, when you make a knot, the most simple thing in the world is that if you take a string and you make it into a knot, that's a knot, right? That's like the most pashut thing in the world, right? What do we have? We have a girdle. Like that's like the most pashut thing. Oh, a thinner girdle, thank you. Oh, very good. Like a Landell. Like upon him, if this is like the most pashut thing in the world. That's a knot, right? If you ask a guy, he'll tell you that's a knot. If you ask a little tighter, and the guy would tell you that's a knot. And then it's a little bit hard for us to get out of our many of us are, what's the word I'm looking for? Square and, what's the word I'm looking for? What? Closed-minded. We're closed-minded. It's difficult for us to be open-minded people and to think that when Chazal said a knot, and the Mishkan is talking about a knot, so it's talking about, something else. When this is what the Goyim call a knot, and this is, it's difficult for us. Let me ease your pain a little bit. So the Ma'aseh the Sefer Orchos Shabbos in the 10th parak, in the first Ha'ara, and the whole entire Sefer, the whole entire parak is based on this hanacha. The whole parak is based on the hanacha that a knot. What's the definition of a knot? The definition of a knot is an entanglement of some pliable object, and basically a knot. What's a kasher? Excuse me, what's a kosher? I shouldn't say what's a knot. What's a kosher? Kosher is a knot. That's it. And now the whole entire parak, he's just trying to figure out which knots are mutter, which knots are asur, which knots are tighter, which knots are looser, which knots are drabana, which knots are deraisa. Which knots are drabana, which knots are deraisa. But the basis of what is a knot, like if I ask you, what is give me a different 39 malacha. What's a baina? He built something, a chefza, whatever. What's a cooking? A cooking is done to a chefza. So a knot, the aleph base of a knot is a knot. It has to be a knot, right? It has to be a knot. And based on that, he bases his entire parak. With this, he explains that therefore he says he doesn't understand the Avnei Nezer. He doesn't understand the Avnei Nezer because the Avnei Nezer said that that's not the definition halachically of a knot. The definition of a knot, I shouldn't say knot, excuse me. Definition of a kesher, the definition of a kesher is when you take something and you mechaber it biyachad, maybe al yedei a knot, or you mechaber it in a way where it's not stuck together. We'll see the definition, the exact definition in a moment. But that's the basis of his entire parak. In Parak Yud and Ha'ara, that a knot, a kesher is a knot. And he's coming lafuke the Avnei Nezer, that the Avnei Nezer says, what's a kesher? A kesher is not a knot. A kesher is when you're mechaber two things together. Now, when you mechaber two things together, says the Goyin Rav Moshe, and if you want to look up the tshuva, so Rav Moshe, I wrote it down. Rav Moshe is in Beis Pei Daled thing together to such an extent that you have to rip it when you take it apart. Then that's called toifer. If you connect it to such an extent with glue, with stitches, and the only way to do it is you have to rip it apart. So then that's called taifer. If you're mechaber in a way where you can just undo what you did, so then that's a kaisher. But what is the definition of a kaisher, says the Avnei Nezer? The definition of a kaisher is being mechaber two things. The medium is a knot, and the truth is it's not exeris the cause of a knot. We'll see maybe there's other examples soon. But the idea is you're being mechaber two things. If you mechaber it so much that it rips, that's taifer. If you mechaber it so much that you're untangled to undo it, you undo it. You undo what you did, so then that would go into the realm of kosher. Okay, and then we spoke about b'shaita, what's the din of a safety pin, because there you don't rip to take it. Okay, Ma'isa, okay, Ma'isa, but so the Rosh Shabbos, Ma'isa says that you can't get it out of his head if the word kosher is in English, in Hebrew, whatever is not, and it's a not, and that's a kosher, and that's the pshat in the Helik Ramah. That's the pshat in the Helik. Just a moment. The Ma'isa, you should realize the more I say this, the more I'm holding by this Shabbos, actually taking a string and actually tying it. I'm almost at the point where I'm going to do it this Shabbos. You'll see why in a moment I won't do it this Shabbos, right? But I'm almost at the point where I'm going to do it. I actually, at this point, until now, I wasn't sure. Now I honestly believe that this is not a kesher on Shabbos, without a shadow of a doubt. It's not a kesher. And if you do this on Shabbos, so then it is not aser, it is not minig, it's not the drabanan, it's not anything. It's not a kesher b'chlal. It's not a kesher b'chlal. The Maisa, the question first before we begin is who's the burden of proof upon? Is the burden of proof on let's say the Merkavas HaMishnah and the Avnei Nezer? Is that the burden of proof? Because they're saying the definition of a knot is something new, is being mechaber two things. And he says, no, a knot is a knot, a kasher is a knot. Or is the burden of proof on, let's say, the Sefer Rosh Hashanah? Who's the burden of proof upon? I think our normal thought process would be the burden of proof is on the Avnei Nezer. Because Lamaisa, why are you telling me that this is a knot? Where did that come from, Rabbi? You have to go out of your closed-mindedness, and you have to remember Kesher and all 39 malachas in Shabbos. All 39 malachas of Shabbos have nothing to do with the encyclopedia definition. We try to go to the Mishkan, see what went on in the Mishkan. In the Mishkan, there's no Remes, Shemetz, anything epis that the case of the Mishkan was they were tying a single knot that wasn't being mechaber two things. The case of the Mishkan was they were making a netting, etc. We'll see the actual case maybe soon. They were making a netting, they were being mechaber two strings together, and they were making a yedei knot. They were being mechaber two things. So to be mechaber two things is really the etzim pashtus definition. When you deal with matir is the opposite of kosher. Now matir usually has to have some type of a tayelis. Otherwise, it's just a destructive malacha. What's a tayelis of a matir? Is that now, on your day, the undoing of it, I have two items, let's say. We'll see the examples, the various examples, but it's not, so Kapshuta, again, I don't know b'chlal if the burden of proof is on the Avnei Nezer, but that's debatable, even I'll admit. That's debatable, who's the burden of proof, sorry? Oh, Elamai, you'll say the Pashas Ramah. To say the Pashas Ramah is a Tayis Gemura. Why? Because the pashtus of the Ramah that he says, if you make one knot, it's aser. The Ramah was talking about crazy people. The Ramah was talking about people that are weird and strange. Is there a normal reason why anyone would tie a knot? The only reason he would tie a single knot, in other words, a double knot is obviously tied. Is there any reason in the world a person would take licorice and tie it together? The only normal case is when you're doing this, like the Merkavas HaMishnah, and like the Avnei Nezer say, when you're trying to make a knot as a means of blocking it. That's the only reason why someone would do it. Elamai stam, we're talking about somebody who just for fun is just making a knot. That might be a misasek. I don't even know what that is. So the Ramah doesn't have to come lafuke, a weird case. I'm just breaking down the severity of the question. I also know you read the Ramah. Ramah says, if you take a knot and you tie it into itself, it's awesome. Strange thing that when you take a knot. First of all, if you think a little bit deeper, why is the Ramah telling me don't do weird things? It's such a very not normal thing for the Helik Ramah to say. That don't do a weird thing. Don't tie a knot. Don't do something that no one's going to do anyways. It's a weird thing. It's no purpose. I don't know what that is, Bichlal. You know what? I'm afraid. Ich habe to say it. What is it? Is it even the feed the Orcha Shabbos? It's a malachat tzricha legufa. He wants the knot for what? I mean, it's what? Maybe decorative, maybe that's the case. It's a weird thing. I mean, the decorative things of weirdness is only in, that's a double knot, that's the title. What? That's a decorative, I said, so the year 2020, they do everything. I mean, boys dress up like girls. I mean, it's a whole different world out there. What? No, with the Ruach HaKodesh. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying that therefore the Pashup Chandra must nishtazeh. I'm just taking away the severity of the question, that's it. But now, just a moment. Sorry? The shoelace will be a case that you're putting a knot in to make it that doesn't come out. That would be that could be that the Avnei Nezer agrees. That could be that the Merkavas Mishnah agrees, right? What? But why? It's a weird way. That's not a normal thing to do. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, I'll go upon him. It definitely knocks down the severity of the question, right? So then yesterday, somebody showed me that, who was it? I think you guys showed me, right? That in the Hilchos, is that what it was? What? Together, he's not here now, I think so. So you're on the same team. You're in as much trouble as he. So they showed me that in the Hilchos that they say, L'maisa the Merkavas Mishnah was Chayzer. Merkavas Mishnah has another sefer called the Shulchan Atzei Shittim. That's a sefer halacha. Merkavas Mishnah is on the Rambam. The Shulchan Atzei Shittim, that's a sefer with Sif Kotins, and that's like his Mishnah Berurah. So he says he's chayzer. So if he's chayzer, then that's it, right? Maisa, if you look inside the Shulchan Atzei Shittim, he's not chayzer. He's not. He says exactly that. It just when you could read it incorrectly. You know what he says over there in the sefer Shulchan. He says, if the roish echad shalchot like this, shaloyinatik min habeged, so that it shouldn't come out of the beged. You know what he's talking about? He's saying exactly what the Avnei Nezer said and exactly what he says in the Sefer Merkavas Mishnah. He's saying that when you put I don't even know where to begin, where it was that somebody dreamed that he was chayzer. He's saying when you take it like the case we spoke about, that when you take a loop over here, you put the string on the other side and you make a knot so that it can't come through. So he says that's the case. Harehu chashiv kishnei ksharim. So what did the Shulchan Atzei Shittim say? Shulchan Atzei Shittim gets a lot of credence in the Sefer Mishnah Berurah. It's a Sefer the Mishnah Berurah certainly held very much so. And over there in the Sefer Merkavas Mishnah, the Avnei Nezer, he says you're not chayiv if you make a single knot. I'm almost at the point where I'm going to this week buy licorice and do it, and you can't stop me. I'm almost there. But then I thought, this is a chiddush from Mamish. The Avnei Nezer was 150 years ago. Merkavas Mishnah was 300 years ago. Maisa, Stama today, the Heintige Paiskin, they're not going to buy this. Steams Harama and the Sefer Shabbos. So the Maisa, the Chut Hashani, Rav Nissen Krelitz, on page 222. Rav Nissen Krelitz, and we spoke once there. Rav Nissen Krelitz went over what it says in the Chut Shani. We spoke about that once. So over there on page 222, he brings down, if you tie a knot into itself, he said, das ist nicht kosher. That's not kosher. That's not kosher. Not kosher. Zeh mutar. That's it. So you got it based in a gadol over here, and in Svara, it's mufka. In Svara, it's mufka to say that it's a mufka. Sorry, Mamish. He says it. I don't remember if he even brings Avnei Nezer. I saw it brought down. That maybe even brings Avnei Nezer. I didn't see it inside. He brings Avnei Nezer. No, I saw the lashon. He brings the actual lashon. He quotes it verbatim in the sefer. But it's bara. It's a baradik thing. So now, would I actually go? Rabbi Zinger, you're getting a little excited about this, right? Am I going to actually this week go and take a plastic from the table and go and tie a single? I believe this. I'm at the point where I actually believe Ani Mami Ben Buddha Shlema that a kesher is only kesher if it's being mechaber shnei thing, right? V'im einoi mechaber shnei dvarim ein ze kesher klalu klal, and mitzvah and mutter to do it on Shabbos. Ani Mami Ben Buddha Shlema. I'm adding it to the Ani Mamis. We're up to like 36, I think, already, right? But I'm adding it to the Ani Mamis. But the only reason I'm not going to do it this week is because I'm not insane. What do I mean I'm not insane? I mean, I have papers that could prove it, right? I'm not insane. So Mela, I'm not stam going to take a string and for no reason do it. And I'm not going to do it stam for no reason in licorice, which that the chayr is mutter. So the only reason a normal sane individual would do it is when there's a reason. And many of the times there's a reason, it's no longer the Avnei Nezer. And let me just explain practice. We spoke about this yesterday, and I realized it's a very, very good nakuda that Rabbi Singer pointed out, Rabbi Adler, they pointed it out to me, I think. Let's pretend, this is a tablecloth? Rabbi Adler, where are you? What? Where is it? What? This is a bag. So let's pretend, no, I'll do it even this. Can I rip the bag? You okay with it? I'm not going to be ripping it I didn't rip it so good. I didn't do such a good job here. Okay. I did a terrible job here. Okay. I got to go to that weaver school. Okay. Now, this is a tablecloth for Shabbos Kodesh. Okay? So some people, the people that aren't Hungarian, they use plastic on the tablecloth, right? So now, you have this tablecloth like this. At the end of the meal, you have like a single tablecloth. It's not a bag anymore, okay? You can see it's not a bag. At the end of the meal, so now, what do you do? What do some people do? They want to wrap up the tablecloth. So they take this. Now, if you take this side and you tie it to that side, okay, if you tie it one time, it's not a problem. That's what we keep on saying. If you tie it with a knot, for sure a problem. That's an issa gomer, maybe an issa d'oraisa. So what do some people do, right? The mevinim, they'll take this side, again, it's all one, pretend it's all one big plastic. They'll take this thing over here and they'll tie a single knot that we've been talking about. And they'll say, Gival, they do this. Why do they do that? Because now it gets inward like this, and now you can get all the little, pieces of filter and all the little zachet, right? And then you roll it up. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? This case, I'm a little bit nervous to matter on Shabbos. You know why? What's the definition of this knot when I tie it into itself? You're trying to get this part and this part to come together. I don't know if that's the same as what the Avnei Nezer was talking about. Avnei Nezer is talking about, you start tying a single knot, you're not, like the shoelaces that we keep talking. If you tie one side, you take one thing, you tie to the other side of the string, that's two things coming together. It's the same thing. If you take this side of the bag and this side of the bag, if you go like that, that's for sure, taking two parts and putting together. I'm noita that even when you do like this, and you put it like that, so then I don't know if the Avnei Nezer would allow this. I don't think the Avnei Nezer allowed that, because now you are being mechaber two parts. You're mechaber this part to that part, and there's a toyalis in that. So that's why I'm not going to start this Shabbos showing, the examples we used were the tie, the examples we used were the licorice, the examples we used, things like that, or just stand for no reason tying a string. So then, we had cases where there was maybe but when you have already a ta'elis and you're bringing both parts together, that's why I'm afraid to use the Avnei Nezer. But Avada, there's no shaila that Medina, the Avnei Nezer is the psak halacha. And the truth is, if you look in Reb Moshe and you look at that Aruch HaShulchan, when they describe the difference between kosher and teifer, which that is the hemshich of the Aron Aruch HaShabbos. The Aruch HaShabbos goes on to say that kosher, what's the chiluk division kosher and teifer? So he says the chiluk is pashut. The chiluk is teifer. Kosher is when you're using strings and knottage and things like that. That type of chutim. He writes over there chutim and chavalim and things like that, right? And teifer is when you're not using chutim and things like that. That's basically kosher is totally in a chefza. Kosher is a chefza of a knot. And that's the difference between kosher and teifer. So there's no question, that we'll see certain cases, what category they're going to fall into. Ramosha says not like that. The Chashulchan says not like that. They go that the difference between kosher and teifer is, like we explained, the kosher is you put it together to such an extent that it doesn't rip and you untangle to undo it. Teifer, you put it together to such an extent that it rips when you take it apart. And it's a two different malchim. It's all based on the same hanacha. It's the same hanacha. The truth is, the Merkavas of Mishnah, the next Merkavas of Mishnah, this is an interesting thing. I said before, Yud in test, this is Yud Aleph. He says the difference between teifer and kosher is if you have a third-party binder. You have two papers and you're binding them together. Are you they a thread? Are you they glue? Something like that. Mashenken kosher is when there's not a third-party binder. Okay, you can have different chilukim. I'm not at this point. I'm not necessarily. It's not my ikar point. Ikar point. Okay, so that's number one. So in this room, the pashtus is the vaila until proven guilty, until the other way. The vaila, the pashtus is that kosher is putting two things together to the extent that you don't have to rip them to take them apart. You have to undo them to take them apart. Okay, that's the chaya. Number one. Number two, Claire? Sorry? No, the chut. That one chut. You're doing it to the chut. Well, Grada Reb Nissen. Reb Nissen, how does he learn the Ramah? He learns the Ramah the way I learned the Ramah. So what's going to be the case of the Ramah? The case is because it was kafel shmeina. That's good for how he learns. Yeah, he doesn't go like the Avnei Nezer. You can hear that chiddush of the Avnei Nezer is a big chiddush. Rabbi Spitz, he didn't like that chiddush. So, but the etzem idea. That doesn't idea. The Avnei Nezer. Okay. No, so the knot that is a result of something else. It's my tie that I made was not that. That came as a result afterward, and that thing that's made as the ortoyelis. Right?
Wasn't that
No, mitzad the knot that, again, mitzad the knot that was originally there, it had a string going through it, which was a thick string. I looked again in the Chazon Ish. It's okay. It works out good. It's a thick string, and it's not giving it a shame of a knot. It's anna, like we saw in the Bir Halacha. And now, afterward, you rip it out. So now you want to know, but there's going to be a knot that's made. I don't see why that's called a knot. The Lefi Davnei Nezer, it's not called a knot. No, it wasn't there at all. It was being cooked. It wasn't cooked there. It was a knot that wasn't made. There was a string inside of it. Right? Good. The wheel catch. Good. Okay. Now, Rabbi say, that's number one. Number two is just practical halacha. I just want to mention because I said it. I looked around. It seems to be this idea. I am right. You talk to a lot of people, and they think you're allowed to make a knot that you can undo with one hand. You can make a knot that you can undo with one hand. There is this shmua going on out there. I think it's the good guys that came from the fact that they learned Mishnayos. And the Mishnayos, Itaka says that Meir Shita is a knot that you can undo with one hand. The guys that aren't as good, I don't know where it came from. But Al Kapanim, that's the Maisa, the Aruch HaShulchan, Paskin's not like that. And the Bir Halacha Paskin's not like that. But the Aruch HaShulchan and the Bir Halacha, they both Paskin not like that. It's based on Rishayim. And we Paskin that a knot that you can take out with one hand is not going to be enough of a reason to say that that's not called a knot. What we're going to do with that in the Hemshech, but I want to give some klalim. Another klal, again, today I want to give you some klalim before I go into the Kesugya. Another klal is, do you need Amanas Likshor? This is a klalistic shaila. We spoke about it in Kareya. We speak about it everywhere. In Moichek, do you need Moiches Amanas Lichtoiv? Do you need a Kareya Amanas Lit for? Or is it enough that you have a matir with a tayalis? You did a matir of a tayalis. So that you have to know again. Mitzvah Shem, we're going to come back to this, but the Bir Halacha Shita everywhere. Sim Shemem everywhere. Shin Yud Zayin Bayasov here at the beginning of the Bir Halacha. He goes everywhere. You do not need Al Manas Likshor. Always, if you have a matir that has a positive tayalis, even if it's not Al Manas, to go and then tie the knot, like you didn't undo this bag, betachlis, to be able to tie it again or something like that, it's always going to be a deraisa. Now, again, what we're going to do with this in Mitzvah Shem, we shall return. Last thing I want you to know is what is La'olam? What is La'olam? So this is a big word. So the La'olam is right into the Taz. The Taz says, what's this? Can say this a kosiv is dos? He wants to know it's a kosiv. What's La'olam? What's La'olam? So there's a shita is out there. Beis Yosef brings a shita. La'olam is already 8 days. What's the makor for 8 days? La'olam is already 8 days. Why? You have makor for such a thing? What's makor? Mm-hmm. Lulav. What? You mean Lulav? Lulav. Not sukkah. Sorry? What's right from sukkah? It brings right from sukkah, but from the noy? I think the ikar brings the lulav though, no? Because the egg on the lulav, so that's already a tzad that it's the rice. Because it's machlekes Rishayim. Some say 8 days. Okay, that's a very big. It's a grace. Then they bring down 30 days. If Beis Yosef brings down, then he brings down half a year or a year. Some say it's a half a year. The Magen Avram brings in Tzivkana Chayadim Berhetiv. They say Zman Aroch, long time. Right? This is all very chashiv. This is the Shitas Rishayim and Achreinim. The Mishnah Berurah everywhere. You guys started learning the Simya? Everywhere. No, where does the Mishnah Berurah say not like this? Everywhere. Mishnah Berurah in Nakadama, Mishnah Berurah Sivkat in Beis, Sivkat in Gimel, Sivkat in Dalet, Sivkat in Hay. Everywhere. The first Bir Halacha, everywhere. The Bir Halacha says La'oila meint La'oila. In order to be deraisa, Dav Zayin La'oila. We saw that La'oila maybe if it's Atchiboli, fine. But Dav Zayin La'oila. It doesn't have to be, it's not 6 months, it's not a year, it's very Nikea. You know what's Nikea? You remember when we learned Teufer and there were whole discussions about the zipper lining, and if so Rav Osner was very nervous about the zipper lining. So we saw, according to Moshe, it's mutter and whatever, fine. But Rav Osner was very nervous about the zipper lining, and he said, it might have a din of la'ilam. They leave in the lining for 6 months. Where did Rav Osner get 6 months from? He's coming from here. And that's the Shiloh. Rav Osner says the Shiloh Deraisa. They leave in the lining for 6 months. And so when you want to put in the lining in the winter, you're putting it in for 6 months, right? And he says, and 6 months might have a din of la'ilam. Now, Rabbi said, there's no other place in Shas or Paiskim or anywhere in the world that there's no medrash and no anything that the 6 months is la'ilam. The only place is here. The Rav is obviously coming from here. That 6 months is the definition of la'ilam. He's being chayshish for that shita. You have to remember now that back then when we spoke about that shaila, Now, the Shaila is no longer as scary as Shaila. It's not a Shaila Deraisa. According to Mishnah Berurah, everywhere. Sikon Beis, Gimel, I hope you know what I'm talking about, boys. Sikon Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Nakadoma, later on in the Sim, everywhere. The Mishnah Berurah goes that La'olam, that La'olam is La'olam. La'olam is that it has to be indefinite. Indefinite, he ties it without any Agbala. So that is a very important klal, because now when we're dealing with Shailas like the zipper lining, it's no longer a Shal Deraisa according to Mishnah. It's a Shal Derabanan. I'm not being misalzel, but it's not the same level. It's a different Shal. If we have a suffix, it becomes suffix Derabanan. That's a very important klal. That's number 3. Is that so far? Everyone's happy? Shabbos sounds like even 25 years. I don't know. Yovel is there's a Gemara Ksuvis about if a person wasn't Tevei their Ksuva for 25 years, something like that. No? You know, it's a Gemara, it's a Mishnah. That if you weren't Tevei something for 25 years, is that considered a Mechila? So they bring it's called Lo'ilam. What about 50 years? 50 years is Mamish Lo'ilam, right? Okay, I don't know how this. There are not so many cases that I'm worried about it, but yeah. Us? The last year. I didn't just have the word. You're saying that's low. Oh, you're such an anti-Semite. Okay, let me think about it. I doubt it. Maybe if it's not based on Mikdash. Maybe if the Evid was, let's say you tied the Evid, I had enough of this guy, right? Good for nothing, right? So you just tied him until the end of Yovel. you know, and Yovel's like in a week from now. I'm patted me, Bo Shep Atrani me Anjal Shal Zu, right? And you tell him, if you tie up this Evid for another week, and that's it. You're tied there. You give him some food for Shtetzach, but you tie him up for a week. But then a week is Yovel, right? So that'll come out of Chumrah of the, until now we saw it's 8 days. So without the 8 days, it's not Lo'ilam. But if it's mitzad, okay. Now, us. Now, what's the Durabanan? Obviously, anything under that Shita, right? So if your Shita is La'olam, so 73 years is no longer La'olam, right? 73 years is Durabanan, right? If your Shita was a year, so I don't know, 353 days. If your Shita is 6 months, 5 months, if your Shita is 30 days, is La'olam, so 29 days is when it starts, right? If your Shita is 8 days, so then Durabanan becomes up. That's that direction. What about the other direction? We saw many times already. Big machlekes. What point is it mutter? So Taz says nothing could be under 24 hours is not here. It's nishdu. It's not connected. If it's for under 24 hours, it's not connected. Others say no. Others say it's based on the same machlekes. Others say you're going to see. Others say 7 days. So just one thing, because the item keeps asking, what is 7 days? What's 7 days? What is it? Is it 6 24-hour periods? In other words, the first minute of 7 days. The first minute of 7 days. In other words, there's a shita that holds under 7 days is mutter, right? And we're makel like that. Listen closely. The Bir Lacha says we're makel like that shita b'makom tzarech. Bir Lacha Sif Dalet says b'makom tzarech we are. That's why I keep mentioning that shita. But what is that shita? Is that shita under 7 days, meaning 6 24-hour periods, or no, 7 24-hour periods is when that's where the problem is. 6 days and 23 hours, right? 167 hours is not a problem. So which is the right answer? What's the answer? So I don't understand this. The Art Scroll book brings down 7. I looked last night for that thing you were telling me. And there he brings down, he says 7 24-hour periods. He says that's the cutoff. In other words, you have to have 7 24-hour periods to be a problem. In other words, 167 hours is the feed those shitas that it knocked down already to mutter. The feed those shitas, right? Myself, Prima Garden's first not like this. I don't understand what happened. Prima Garden says first 6 24 hours, and that's the halacha without a shadow of a doubt. 6 24-hour periods is the cutoff point. Okay, what do you say? So myself, I just want to mention something. Go faster, Rabbi. There's a story. No, wait for the story. There's a story. Wait there a second. One second. Right? Remember in the yeshiva, they told you you should have went to the bathroom during recess. So this is recess. I'm asking, but let me just tell you a story. Then you can go. One second. No, so this thing with the rabbinical, I know the Olam's all into this now. The rabbinical shoes. You saw this Gemara You also, this Gemara is unbelievable. I'm going to, Mitzvah Shem, today we're not explaining it, but I can't hold back. Somebody today gave me the Yated, right? With this story, I can't. I have such a hate to say the story. And it was mamish, it's mamish on what we're learning. It's mamish on what we're learning. It's a whole shaila, the rabbinical shoes. It seems like the rabbis, the Gemara over there in Kufyut Beis, the rabbis, these great rabbis, they put on their shoes. Help me out here. When did they put on the shoes, Nissan? When did they put on the shoes? Shabbos day, it sounds like, right? It sounds like Shabbos day, right? When they woke up, whatever. Yeah, they don't wake up during the day. Yeah, Shabbos before our lives. Okay, Shabbos before our lives. Okay. So Shabbos before our lives, they put on their shoes, and then when did they take them off? And the Gemara is dining on which is the Keshet Rabban and the Rice. Right? When did they take off the shoes? How did the item learn? What? They took off Friday night. And so what is that? How many days is that, Derech Agav? It's less than 7 24-hour periods, right? So it's into the 7th day, but that the Gemara is saying is the problem. So that's the raya the Pri Megadim brings. Does everyone understand? Yeah, we're getting there. That's the raya the Pri Megadim brings. The Pri Megadim is trying to say, the Pri Megadim, every word in the Pri Megadim is ayin, right? You can get a headache. But the Pri Megadim seems to be saying that these rabbis these great Jews put their shoes on Shabbos morning, we'll call it, okay? And they kept their shoes on for about 160 hours, 153 hours, something like that. And there was already a problem. That's the Gemara is dealing with over there. That it's a problem because that's already a Rabbanan Dekanat. I know that's called more than 7 days. Okay, so you see that if Avada 6 24-hour periods is already the problem. Well, that's because we found it. No, that's not true. That's because we find in halacha, says the Taz, that something. First of all, it's 2 different shitas. That's not fair. But more so, we find all over in halacha something for under a 24-hour period is not called the kiyum bichlal. And that's what you have to do. You know, the kasha. I'm not even sure if the kasha bothers me, but if it does, wait 1 second. We're going to come back to these rabbinical shoes, Rabbi said. But what are the kasha? First of all, kasha. What's the kasha on the Rabbanim? No. Oh, first kasha is the Rabbanan nicht gegangen to the mikveh every day. Shegetz, Rabbi Spira, every growing about Shabbos every day. So this is the raya brewer that you don't have to go to the mikveh every day, right? Sorry. Oh, now what about the mikveh of Shabbos? What? Then why did they undo them? If they were loose, so why did they undo them on Shabbos? What are you talking? Was? That's the shine of the Gemara. I'm going to get to the actual Gemara, but that's the case of the Gemara. We have to deal with it. Huh? How'd they go to the mikveh? And wait, and bigger kasha, who has kashal shikha? Huh? Who has? Don't be shy. Rabbi Bergman. Rabbi Fuchs. You can't remember. You can't remember who asked. It's kashal shikha. They slept in their shoes. They for sure slept, right? So they want to bring a raya maybe that they dozed. They want to bring a raya that maybe they dozed off the Rabbanim and they didn't sleep. And when you dozed off, it's not kashal shikha. You doze off, it's not kashal shikha, right? Okay, so there are things we have to talk about, right? But this is, do I have a right to listen to share to read something that's not really exactly again? Well, I think so. No? What's the contract? No, see, I'm okay? I'm okay. Listen to what it says here. Oh, I love this story. It's talking about the Ruach HaKodesh of the Stipler. Ruach HaKodesh of the Stipler. Yeah, okay. Ruach HaKodesh. So, Rabbi said, by these people, Ruach HaKodesh was normal. I don't want you to think that that's, the Chazon Ish, one time somebody came to the Chazon Ish and he told the Chazon Ish that he's very nervous to do like the Chazon Ish says in something because the Meiser, B'Kiveger says not like him. The Chazon Ish had a machlekes with B'Kiveger about something. So he says the Meiser, B'Kiveger says not like the Chazon Ish. And again, that the Chazon Ish proves that B'Kiveger is a Das Yachid. But the Meiser, he Taka says it, right? Rabbi Kiva Eger is Rabbi Kiva Eger. So the Chazon Ish said, no, it's fine. Rabbi Kiva Eger and me had it out. I saw it today in the sefer, this new sefer there from Shlomo Brefta. He brings there that me and Rabbi Kiva Eger, we had it out. We discussed it. Bakitz means there's 2 ways that Rabbi Kiva Eger can come to. He can come to in a dream. That's how he comes to me sometimes. But never did I get him bakitz. And sometimes he comes bakitz. Bakitz means like wide awake and like the way I see you right now. I don't think there's even a glass. Right? And the way he sees you right now, he says we had it out bakitz, and Rabbi Kiva Eger was masking to me, so you could do like me. Okay, but that I wouldn't keep you from the bathroom for that. Listen to this. He says, the Stipler. this is great. Yes, his mom's fabulous. He said there was a bacher. Yeah, okay. I can't. I have to read it in Hebrew after Michael. It's so good. When I was in yeshiva, there was a bacher that started staying up all night and learning all night. That's what he did, right? And he had all weird cheshbainis. He was mishtabish and mispalbal all the seder ayoyim, and he would stay up the whole night. And because of this, it didn't look good for such a bacher. You know, he's not going to be. He's going to stay up the whole night learning. And what's going to be of such a bacher? He won't be a part of it. So I didn't know what to do. So I went to the bacher to talk to the bacher, and one time the bacher said like this: "Rakim a stiper yoymer li beruach a kodesh shelo yizra derech eskim lachdol mikach." The only way I'll stop doing this is if the stipler tells me beruach a kodesh. Okay, so I used to go into the stipler. He says here twice a week. So the bacher they asked me, the other friends of the bacher, maybe talk to the stipler about this. So betchila, when I started talking to the stipler, a great Jew, the stipler, when he heard the story, the stipler said, "Habachur eino bari, yelech l'rofei." This guy's not normal. There's doctors for these things. What do you want from me? It doesn't say Dr. Stipler. It doesn't say Dr. Kilievsky over here. Okay. Omar, and he was angry. What do you want from me? He says, no, but he is normal. And if the stipler would talk to him, all right. So bring him to me. But he can't know about this conversation. They told the stipler because, So he said, okay, we'll bring him to me. Nichnas habacher yachar im chaver nosaf. So these two bachrim came in. Miyad, on the spot, the stipler chapped who the bacher was. Who's the bacher? That's the troublemaker, right? And they gave him the simon, and he chapped already. So he sat them down and he said like this: Yeshi gaon gadol hayom. There's a craziness that goes on today. Lomdim bayoim v'sheinim balayla. This mamish a crazy thing is that people, they learn during the day and they stay up at night and they sleep at night. A crazy thing. This is crazy. Hello, is it Pella? Hooray, the Rambam says mefurish, she'ikar chachmasa shel adam is niknas balayla. The ikar chachma is niknas balayla. The ikar chachma that a person has is when does he achieve his ikar chachma? It's at night. So Elamai, you're going to say they need to sleep. But what happens? A person wakes up in the middle of the night, that he should go back to sleep? What's the heter to go back to sleep? Maybe there's a heter to fall asleep. What's the heter to the bacher's listening? Hooray, you got to wake up. You got to learn. The bacher's listening to this. His face is mamish sahala v'samecha. Sahala v'samecha. He's mamish. This type is talking my language. This is a person that knows how to learn. And he writes here, habacher chashav batzma mamish ruach hakodesh. Mamish ruach hakodesh. You see that? Then, and the stipend said, and worse, Mela, if you go to sleep, yeah? But they buy miyuchadike kleider was die rufen das pajamalach. They buy pajamas. Azach chutzpah. You want to fall asleep, but to buy clothing for some gains, like by power of pajamas. Well, what was the grace? He's such a mushchis, such a Russia. That the night the whole Mitzrayim is going to be destroyed. And you can put on your pajamas, you fell asleep is one thing. Okay, so he says, Shigaon. Hooray, we in Yeshiva Navardik, we would sleep. Hayinu yeshenim im analayim v'abagodim. We would go to sleep in our shoes, pajamas, pajamas, Russia, tzioini. Yeah. It's up there. The Hoisef Stipler, Yeshrayim Gemara. It's such a hanaya. Yeshrayim Gemara could be at base. Alkain sheyesh li shoinim nalayim. There's a raya. He's supposed to sleep in the shoes. He's supposed to sleep in the shoes. Sharei Gemara mer kesher derabbanon. That's Garif and the kesher derabbanon. They called it the rabbinical knot. Why was it called the rabbinical knot? Because of Iran, the Iran says to Rabbanan leisharu min aleihem, because Rabbanan don't take off their shoes. Ela milele Shabbos lelele Shabbos miakiyas haTalmud, because they learn the Heilige Torah. The bacher at this point, he can't even control himself. He has such a big smile. He's drooling. This is it. Right? The bacher, this is bidiyuk what I'm trying the whole time. Turns to his friend. That's what I told you the whole time. That Stipler is a little bit deaf. It's because the whole story. Stipler turns to his friend. This is exactly what I'm telling you the whole time. Stipler in here word. But now all of a sudden the Stipler says aval. Aval in the Mishabru is a psak. What does say? Aval's a psak. Aval, like the Stipler. Yesh davar echad shehu yisoid kol yisoidis. What's he say? He say this from the Stipler. He says, Liot Adam Normali. Do you understand why my Yetzer Hara would not allow me today to not hold this information back from you people? Some of you need it, Rabbi. Right? Liot Adam normali. Im lo mitnagim normali. If you don't be normal, as lo lomdim, velo gdelim, you don't learn, you don't grow. You become fakir. The kaven shekain tzarich lishon. So you have to wear pajamas like kulam. I don't mean some of the chevra that do it, but v'tzrichim lishon kol laila, k'may kulam. You have to go to sleep like everybody. Lishon b'li nalayim, k'may kulam. You have to take off your shoes like everybody. Hakol k'mo kulam, liot adam normali. In order to be normal, don't do chachmas. Because in Nevardik that was normal. That it's not normal. Most people wear pajamas. And if not, in brackets they write bacher meshuna. Well, the saif, you won't learn about that. It's the saif, the Heilige Stipler. Okay, you can go to the toilet. Okay, Haflafella. Okay. Haflafella. Let me get now. Let's start the shir. How much time do we have to start? Oh, I love the Heilige Stipler. Now. You have to stop. Everybody say, you can help cup? Yeah, because this is the big, this is where the gold is. Okay, we have 20 minutes just to get this started. You can help cup. You have the cup yet? Now, after such a story, now you're normal. Yeah, we're going to get to it. I want you to soak up the questions and kashal the shikha and how do you go to the mikveh every single day. Okay. What? That's the Gemara. That we'll get to it. That's okay. Akopanim is Rabbi say, let's go to the big sugya over here. This is the big sugya. What's the big sugya? Kumtz again, bir locha. Now listen closely. At this point, listen closely. Absorb. This is the helikite of our Torah, right? This is the sheinkite of our Torah. Kumtz again, the bir locha over here. Excuse me. And the bir locha has a very big yisaidistic shaila. His shaila is, what's the din if I myself have intention to undo the knot within, we'll call it 24 hours, because we want to make the easy case, the case of mutter. I have intention that this is a knot, that the Welt makes this knot la'olam, and I have intention that I'm going to take it out within 24 hours. What's the din of such a knot? Do we look at the oilam, and it's at the oilam, this is a knot that lasts forever? Or do we look at your das, and your das is the das that's going to be taken out within 24 hours? How much this is nageya, Rabbi side? This is one of the most nageya shas in the world. This would be a life savior. The drapes that came out yesterday, we talked about. So just tie the knot, tie the bow, and then have das that you're going to take it out after Shabbos. That's not the norm, but maybe it's totally in your das. Or the case with the bow on the shoe, and I don't mean just a regular bow, I mean a knot in a bow, and even though I don't mean the shoe, I mean like the decorative bow or whatever. So in such a case, it's normal that the Welt leaves that type of bow on the oilam, at least the brewer's oilam, whatever. And now, so you'll put it on and you'll take it out within 24 hours. And that would be a lifesaver. Your wife is crying in the room. She's not coming out because the string is coming in the bow. And so you think it's a joke? It's no joke. The kids, can I know her? All right. God makes them cute. So when they get meshuggah, sometimes you're going to have it's usually with the girls. That's how it goes. I'm not leaving this room until this bow is tied. Right? I'm not leaving this room. But what do you mean? But today is, we have to go to the bar mitzvah. And today is, we're going, today to Sheva Brachas of Fegi and Limi and whatever. I don't leave this room. Right? Until the boat, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Oh, fragnish. When the hormones get given, fragnish. Yeah. This is after the fire them hormones. Yeah. And I'm not leaving this room until the boat. So now what do you do? So what do? You ibrachachim was too best. So your makeup is like a slip knot. There's a ma'aser shahaya. I'm not going to say with who, but ich mean there's a ma'aser shahaya. Okay. It's ma'aser. So what did the ibrachachim do? At the gemacht a slip knot, like an anivaza. That's not it. That's not it. She knew on the spot. That's not it. That's not it, right? It's in the olden days. But today you can't do that. Okay, you can't do that. The kid's going to go whoosh, off the derech. That's it, right? So that's metarnished, yeah? That's it. So today what do you have to do? You have to make nice and pat her on the head and give her a kush and dust. But she says, look, all the kisses in the world. It's not ab go nicht. Ich geit nicht. I don't go until you tie this bow and the knot, and that's it. You tell Shabbos. She said, Shabbos, it can't be. It can't, not shaykh. That everybody should wouldn't want me to have that. So now we have an eitzah. Comes again the Helik Taz. There's the whole story. Taz had a daughter. We got some mice with the Taz. The whole story is we'll tell a different time. But comes again the Helik Taz, and the Taz says, "I have an eitzah. Can do regla. No, he tied the knot, tied the bow. Let him again. What's haste? He had das, right? That Motzei Shabbos, he's going to take it out, and he took it out Motzei Shabbos, and that's it. That's it. Okay, that's a lifesaver. That's a lifesaver. I can go to the Bar Mitzvah. Comes again, Rebbe, Bi'alacha, and he says, this is wrong. This is wrong. And the Bi'alacha, his first time is, this is wrong, misvara. He doesn't even, hasn't even come up bring a raya. This is wrong. That's it. It's not totally in you. It's not totally in you. It's not totally in your das that you want to undo it. This das is totally, this kesher is totally in the kesher of the oilam. It's totally in the velt, and that's it. It's totally in the cheftev. This is normal that people keep it around, and that's it. The first, you have to absorb the bi'alacha. When you learn the bi'alacha, his first time is misvara. That's the bi'alacha. The first time is misvara. Okay, then the bi'alacha says, second of all, and this is very important. Second of all, says the bi'alacha, you should know that even the Taz, we're going to see soon, it's not just the Taz, Rabbi said. Even the Taz, says the Bi'alacha, he's going to agree to me that it's at least an Issa D'Rabbanan. Interesting. The Olam learned the Taz. The Tapka learned the Taz yet. You saw the Taz? Does he agree with the Bi'alacha? I don't know. Bi'alacha says, even the Taz is going to have to agree to me that it's for sure a D'Rabbanan. I hold it's the Raisa, says the Bi'alacha. But even the Taz is going to have to agree to me it's D'Rabbanan. Why? No. My summons not the even a non. No. He says why. He says even the Taz is going to have to agree to me it's a D'Rabbanan. Why? Says the Bi'alacha. This is Yereim. This is the third shita, which I didn't yet explain in the Mitzvah Shem. Probably next week and Sunday we'll explain. But okay. But there's a third shita in the whole figuring out of what's lo'ilam and what's D'Rabbanan and what's mutter and all. It's all different mahalach. The Yereim's mahalach is. Again, I'm not going to go into the actual Seder Dvarim of the Yereim, the Deraisa, the Rabbanim, and the Mutter, but the Yereim has a shita that the Yereim says, if you have a knot, that some people, listen closely, this is not the same case. Some people make it lo'ilam, and some people don't make it lo'ilam. We'll call it a 50-50 knot, just to bring out my point. Some people make it lo'ilam, and some people don't make it lo'ilam, and you decide that you want to make it not lo'ilam. Now there, everyone's going to agree it's totally in you, right? Because it's not the type of knot that's lo'ilam dika. Again, the knot is a knot that not the derech is to make lo'ilam. It's 50-50. So here, your das is kaveya. Says the Yereim, it's still an issa d'Rabbanan. Mishabura brings it at the end of the simon. The pais can bring it la'alacha. If you have a knot that's 50 times, they make it lo'ilam. Some people make it not lo'ilam, and you decide not to make it lo'ilam. Not to make it lo'ilam. It's aser d'Rabbanan, says the Heilig Yereim. Why? Says the Yereim, because it's Gzeira, Kenzain, you'll change your mind. Whatever. The actual Yereim, we're going to learn, okay? But Kenzain, you're going to change your mind. You're going to decide it's lo'ilam because it's the type of knot that people do lo'ilam. You see from there, what do you mean? At the time when he did it, it wasn't lo'ilam. Okay, but that's state Yereim. Frek the Bi'alacha, Kal v'chaymer. Frek the Bi'alacha, Kal v'chaymer. If, when it comes to a knot, if when it comes to a knot, which is sometimes you do lo'ilam and sometimes you don't do lo'ilam, but I did it not lo'ilam, and you tell me that the guy governor we make it Rabbanan that you might decide to do it lo'ilam. So fact the bi'alacha. So kal v'chaymer ben benoitcha kol v'kal v'chaymer shebekoy lo'ilam kula. If you have a knot that the derech of everybody is to do lo'ilam, everybody is to do it lo'ilam. So kal v'chaymer that we're going to make a gzeira that you might come to go and do it lo'ilam. You might change your mind and keep it lo'ilam. It's almost mamish unbudgeable what the Bi'alacha just asked. It's unbudgeable. This is a shaila she'enel of tshuva. Das is a shaila she'enel of tshuva. Was? Who cares? We all the achrayim bring down this Yereim. Okay. What? Das is not getting involved in that. Whatever's called the knot. If you hold that's a knot. What? Right now, that's not important. In other words, each shita kafi mashu. According to the Rambam, it'll have to be a numen. According to Rashi, not. But the concept right now is what's important. Klapadil oilam right now. So we are chayshish that a knot with a bow on top of it is considered a kesher. And now he's just saying the oilam is going to be a problem. Even if your das is to take it out Motzei Shabbos, says the Mishabura, it's not going to help. It's at least a D'Rabbanan. Zak the Bi'alacha, and I hold this deraisa. Okay? So the Maisa, right? So why should I even continue? I'm also running out of time. But why should I even continue? Why should I continue? No matter what, Rabbi Balon, why should I continue? It's no matter what, it's aser. What? So you want to know 500 you burn and 600 you broil. I mean, you want to know if it's a Drabanan or Deraisa, and if it's a Drabanan, so you're probably going to broil because it's worse to do Drabanan. Okay, that's what you want to know. That's what you want to know. What? Well, so like this. Maybe there's enough kamina, like in our case of the bow. Let's say the decorative bow. So the Taz is not going to be doing it for his daughter now. But let's say the Hungarian Schwiger, Darton. All right. So now you're not going to be tying that bow because, so according to Bialacha, we throw you off a cliff. According to the Taz, so then it's still Nisa Drabanan. We beat you up, we flog you. I mean, still awesome. Elamai. So I was thinking like the Olam just said. So maybe I could have enough kamina because I have to have a reason to continue the conversation. Maybe there is enough kamina if it's Drabanan Deraisa. There'd be enough kamina like this. Let's say the string from the Erev snaps. The Erev snaps are a common case. I'm not such a crazy kid. The Erev 9 snaps. And now, so what you do is you want to tie the Erev string. You'll tie it with a knot and a bow, not a umin, because that's anyways going to be also, a double knot. But you'll tie it with a knot and a bow, and then you'll take it out, might say Shabbos, right? So here we have a case. Why? Let's see. If we mentioned that if you do a kesher, drabanan, the market mitzvah, there's some kula draying around here in the sugya. We'll have to see. But it exists. There is some kula here. Why? Dr. Nezer does not know. And the Mishabura says, Machlaikis Rashi, we'll have to see. But deal with it. There is a kula floating around in the sugya that a kesher, the Rabbanan, does have some type of a heter, the market mitzvah. So to say, here's the market mitzvah, the Erev is down. So let's see. Lefi the Bialacha, checkmate, right? Mate check. There's no way you could put this up. That's deraisa. I don't care that you're going to have das to take it out on Motzei Shabbos. Checkmate. Deraisa. According to the Hilchos Taz, it's not more than a drabanan of the Ureim, because he might change his mind or whatever. And they say, so b'makom mitzvah we could be mekel, right? So then I realized das is a toyis. Who could tell me what's a toyis? Was? No, it's not makabati. When you have something that's one malacha, you don't give it the shame of a different malacha. Say better. What? That's what it why not? It's saving. The Mishabur says it's saving the Michshel the Rabbi. Sorry? No, say it. The Mishabur already says it's called the mitzvah. Mishabur says the mitzvah. Mishabur says mitzvah because not everyone's going to hear the announcement. Mishabur says what? What? Why not? Of course you would. Why not? What? I don't know. I don't see why not. I don't know. I said, I'll see why not. No. Oh, thank you, Rabbi. It's anyways aser. It's not going to help us to Taz. There's a heter of doing drabanans. There's a heter to do drabanans on kasher. Kasher drabanan is mutter b'makom mitzvah, right? Are you allowed to do other drabanans b'makom mitzvah? No, this is the big pella. The rest of all the drabanans, you're not allowed to do b'makom mitzvah. So what drabanan are you being over on when you tie this knot? So you're over on kasher drabanan, that's true. What else are you being over on? Mechitza materes. You're making a mechitza. Right now, you're not allowed to carry in this area. Now you're allowed to carry in this area. This is a mefurish halacha in Siman Shin Tes Vav. This is an issa drabanan on Shabbos to make an Erev. It's an issa drabanan even if you're not doing anything there. I said, Rabbi said, if you take a box and put it there, it might be a mechitza materes. That's it. So it is so I still don't have enough kamina. Comes again. Rabbi again. A goy. He says a goy, right? A goy. The guy, Gevaldik, according to the Taz, does his Ashvus. You tell the guy, Leroy, take this knot, tie it up, right? Tie it up, please. Say please. And do it with a knot and a bow. He says, no problem. Knot and a bow. Now it doesn't even matter what he does because you told him to. He does it with a knot and a bow. What would that be? According to the Taz, that's a derabanan. What's a goy? Not a derabanan. That's a Ashvus b'makom mitzvah. And Mashenkin, according to the Mishabura, it's going to be aser. Why? Because according to Mishabura, you're asking the guy to do it deraisa. Even though you're telling the guy to do it only for 24 hours, but you're telling the guy to do it deraisa, right? Yeah, but that's not true. It's also not true. Because the Mishabura, what? Sorry? Thank you, Rabbi Liebig. I don't know if this is what you just said, but Rabbi Liebig just said, he said the same thing. Rabbi Liebig just said, what do you mean it's Siman Reich Ayin Vav? Mishabura says, I'm makel that a guy is allowed to even do deraisa to get that Erev. You know why? Because Michshol the Rabbi. Michshol the Rabbi. What? Sorry? You mean what'll be if it's only backyards? I don't know if that's enough of a mitzvah. It's a matir. I don't know. I don't think it's a mitzvah at all. Sorry. So I still don't have a case. So what's the difference if it's deraisa derabanan? Don't have a case. Okay. Was? No. So I don't know if it's mutter. Who says it's mutter? It's a shvus b'makim what? B'makim bungalow? B'makim summer. Summer there's no halacha. Man fährt da weg vom Stadt, man fährt da weg from the Eibishter also, right? Was? What's the question? I'm not happy. Yes, Kev. I don't have how that would help. It could be you'll tell me after. I'm not happy. But Akapanim is Rabbi say. So, all right, let me be Messiah. I won't be able to finish now. I have to send the parsha. No? Danny, we have a minute also for the parsha, right? Okay, I just want you to know one last thing. But then Sunday we'll continue. What? Yeah, we'll finish in the first minute on Sunday. But I just want you to know one thing. This Biur Halacha is unbelievable. This Biur Halacha answers up every question in the world. All life's questions, Sadik Virallah, and could the Rebbeinu Shalom make a stone that he can't destroy, and whatever. Mamish, this Biur Halacha goes on to answer up every one of life's questions. It's like a beautiful, you see what the Biur Halacha says, his yard site is in Zintik, that Sunday is his yard site. He goes on to answer up every, I'll give you an example. Frek the Prima Godim, Akasha. Frek the Prima Godim, Gewalt, you have tzitzis. Everyone's saying you can't, your tzitzis come undone on Shabbos. It's a terrible thing. You're walking in Rishus Rabbim. In those days, sometimes Nishkeven can unterhäusen. You know, when he was walking, that was it. Oh, that was it, right? And now it's a problem of covered up brias and this and that. Frek the Prima Godim, what's the problem? Because he's wearing a four-garment beged and the tzitzis got ripped off. He says, what's the problem? Let him just go and tie the tzitzis on Shabbos. Let him go tie the Shabbos. So what do you mean tie the Shabbos tzitzis? That's a deraisa of Kshira. So the Prima Godim says, no, I'll have in zin that I'll tie it. I'll have in mind that I'll untie it Motzei Shabbos. Says the Biur Halacha, according to me, it's not fair. What's it going to help? You're going to untie it Motzei Shabbos. I hold it's deraisa. So that's Miyushiv. Next question. There's a Gemara in Erev and Daf Kuf Beis. The Gemara talks about a kinor snapped. The kinor is like a violin. It's snapped in the base of Mikdash. So what are you going to do? You can't tie that knot on Shabbos. What are you going to frekt Rebbe Kiva Eger? What do you mean, what are you going to do? Tie the knot, having zin, having das, that might say Shabbos, you're going to undo the knot. Might say Shabbos, you'll undo the knot. All right? Have in mind, might say Shabbos, undo the knot. Right? It'll still be D'Rabbanan, like we just said. Who cares? D'Rabbanan, Makkah Mitzvah, or Shvus in the base of Mikdash, or whatever. Yeah. Zok the Biur Halacha, Lefi me, not shver. You can't go and tie a knot on a violin and having zin that you're going to go and untie it on Motzei Shabbos, because that is inherently a kesher. Yushav Rebbe Kiva Eger, frek the minchas chinuch. Listen to this. You find a pair of tefillin in the street, and the Gemara says if the tefillin is made to your size or whatever, so you put the tefillin on and you go to the house, you go home and save the tefillin's life. But let's say the tefillin is not bound, it's not kosher, there's no knot in the tefillin. Let's say there's no knot in the tefillin, right? So then what's the halacha? There's no knot. Too bad. These tefillin have to stay there and Hashem Yirachem. Why? Because what can I do? I can't go and tie a knot on Shabbos. Frek the minchas chinuch. You know the question already. Frek the minchas chinuch. Tie the kasher on the tefillin. Go and make a tefillin knot and have in zin that you're going to undo it on Motzei Shabbos. And that's a mitzvah. So even if it's D'Rabbanan, but it's certainly not the Raisa. Tzarchi, Zak the Biur Halacha, it's miyushav that kasha too. Everything is miyushav because you can't have in zin, you can't have in das, that you're going to undo it in Motzei Shabbos. It's all totally in what's the chefts of the kasha. The chefts of the kasha is la'olam. But this is also miyushav yanav d'nezer, right? The normal knot that a person makes from a tefillin is the last la'olam. So who cares your das is on the 25th? Everything is miyushav. I just want to, I'll leave you with one you say. If the Bir Lacha answered up, Rabbi Kiveger, the Prima Godim, there's a Graz, there's a Taz also, Prima Godim, Rabbi Kiveger, the Graz, the Taz, the Minchas Chinuch, he answered up everybody. So what does it mean? What does it mean? What? What it means everybody argues in the Bir Lacha. So on Sunday, on the outside of the Bir Lacha, we're going to have to try and defend the Bir Lacha. But now you have the Sugya. Now you have the start of the Sugya. Okay, we'll continue. Let me just say one word on the Parsha. Let me just 1 second. Now that I'm savvy computer, I do these things myself. But it takes me a minute because I'm not so savvy. Okay. A different recording, Danny. Yeah. Okay. So you have to somehow connect both parshas this week. There's Nitzavim and there's Vayelech. It says, Atem Nitzavim Hayoim. Chazal say Hayoim is Rosh Hashanah. Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kuchem. Everybody. Hayoim, what's this Hayoim? Hayoim is Rosh Hashanah. Hayoim already, and when you hear parshas Nitzavim, it has to open up the person's mind that Rosh Hashanah is coming. Because you're here, and what's the here? What's the nitzav? What's that time where you're going to have to, stand up and answer up and take responsibility? That's where? That's Rosh Hashanah. Atem nitzavim hayoim, the hayoim where you're going to have to take responsibility. That's Rosh Hashanah. So you have to go into a little bit to understand what's the hayoim of Rosh Hashanah. What exactly is? Why do I need to know this already in Parshas Nitzavim? Why do I need to know this in Parshas Nitzavim that hayoim is Rosh Hashanah? So it's the Rambam. Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva in Gag, Perek Gimel, Halacha Gimel. Listen to the Heilige Rambam. I won't read the first part. That part's not a guess. But he goes and talks about the din on Rosh Hashanah. But he first says like this: Kishem sheshayklin avaynis adam v'schiyos b'shas misasai. At the time when someone dies. So that the Rebbeinu Shalom, he makes a cheshbon of the Averis and the mitzvahs. He says, you did Azayfel mitzvahs, Azayfel Averis, and then they figure out if he's a good guy or a bad guy. And they figure out, and the Rebbeinu Shalom knows how to make the cheshbon, which mitzvahs are worth more and which Averis are worth less. That's how it goes. So he knows how to make the cheshbon, and that's the cheshbon that the Rebbeinu Shalom makes on the Yom HaMisa. Says the Heilige Rambam, kishem that the Bashefer makes that cheshbon on the Shas Misa, kach the kol shana v'shana, shayklin avoynes kol echad ve'echad mibai olam. The same exact way that he makes this cheshbon at the end of a person's life. Do you have more mitzvahs or more averis and whatever the math is? So he does it every year, and he does it on every baya olam. Im Zechayosef, that's on the yontif shel Rosh Hashanah. The guy calls it the yontif shel Rosh Hashanah. Interesting. Okay. And mishanim tzaddik, and this is the famous Rambam. If he's a tzaddik, he goes to the Sifrei Tzaddik. If he's in Russia, he goes to the bad guys. Everyone that believes that there's no extra drops of ink in the Rambam is what's the kishem. What's the kishem? The Rambam should just say that the Rebbeinu Shalom on Rosh Hashanah, he weighs the mitzvahs, he weighs the averis. And Mamela, if you have how this works, everybody deals with, but if you have more mitzvahs, so then you're good. If you have more averis, then you're very bad. If you're equal, why does the Rambam say kishem? The same way that the Rebbeinu Shalom, someone told me Rav Shach asked the question. What's the kishem? What's the kishem? The way that he does it on the Yom HaMisa is the way that the Rebbeinu Shalom does it every single year on Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so the teretz is mistama. The Rambam is trying to teach you over here to make some kind of a comparison to the Yom HaMisa. What's the pashut? The pashut is that Ba'atzim, what would be a person he would know, the day before he's going to die? He knows the Malcham Avos comes to him, he tells us tomorrow, he tells that person, I'm sorry, Anshel, tomorrow it's over. What would he do? He would mamish the whole day. He would try to zuch for, the last day. The last day he would try to figure out the mamish, the amount. He knows now he's about to come to the Shemayim and he has to get mitzvahs and he has to have more mitzvahs than Averis. He would work the whole day, a mitzvah man. He would become a mitzvah machine, right? And he would do whatever he can to get more chapsacharain, more mitzvahs and more mitzvahs. He would do tshuva. But what's the problem? The problem is that we don't know that day. We don't know that day. So what happens by that time when a person becomes Alta Mensch, Alta Yidi, he's an old man. Sometimes he realizes the day is too close, but either he doesn't know it's coming mamish or he doesn't have koyach. He doesn't have koyach. Not everybody's not. It's like, at that point he would love to do mitzvahs. He has no koyach. He has no koyach, right? I remember I had Alta Zayda. I saw him not right before he was nifter, but he was very alt and he had no koyach. He said that he has no koyach anymore. He wishes he was younger so that he could do more mitzvahs. He has no koyach anymore. So he said, I told him, Zayda, the rotzen by the Heilige Bashefer is worth a sach also. Right? But that, but he said, but he wants to do mitzvahs. He wants meisim, not just rotzen. So, but at that point we're usually weak and we don't have the koyach. Not everybody knows that there's a meisa with the Rimmen Oiver. I told you the meisa with the Rimmen Oiver. The meisa was that there was an old man. There was a Chassid that came to the Rimmen Oiver. Rimmen Oiver. He said to him, Rebbe, could you do me a favor? The Rimmen Oiver said, he said, could you daven that my father dies? I said, Rebbe, daven that we don't do things like that, So he said, what are you coming to me as? I said, look, it's mamish a big chesed. My father's way over 100. He's way over 100. He suffers. He mamish suffers, and it's a pella. He just doesn't die. It's a pella, and he mamish suffers, and it's a pella. So the Rimmen Oiver said, bring him to me. Let's see. Maybe he has some type of schus. He can't have such a yichus yom. But figure out what happened. He obviously has some type of schus. So he brings the old man. The old man comes in. There's a pasha to mensch. So he starts talking to us like a balagala. The balagala was in those times a side. Nicht gewend the high-tech site. The fancy Israeli cab drivers, hummus and dudu. This is the balagala of a moldik site, So he says, okay, balagala, maybe he's a tzaddik nister. So he starts telling him, tell me what your day was like. He says, me. So I used to daven. Oh, so there you go. Yeah, but by me, I was just waiting to get out of davening to get a little. Sometimes somebody would bring like a little kichel and bramfin and whatever, and I was just waiting the whole time, especially for my coffee and whatever. Okay, and what you do during the day? Maybe you did chesed with that guy. He said, no, whoever paid, I took. Whoever didn't, I didn't. And okay, says, what about Shabbos? Yes, Shabbos. He said, Mamish, I love cholent. Oh, I love cholent. Oh, cholent loves me. I love cholent. No, but Shabbos, like the Zmiris. Yeah, I did the Zmiris, but I the whole time I know that I have to do the Zmiris because that's right after the Zmiris. My wife brings out the cholent. So I love cholent. I love cholent. So the Rebbe is the Rimmen Oiver. He says, not such a big tzaddik. Is there anything that you can think of in your life that was something unbelievable? So yeah, Maisa, when he was very young, he once was in Lejains, and there was over there a noise coming from some shul. He looked through the window, and there were 10 Yidden Chassidim dancing around, and there were bottles, and in the middle was a very tall Yid, and his face was shining red. And that's one of the few memories that I remember of an interesting thing that happened in my life. So the Rimmen Oiver said, the Rebbe of Melech. He saw the Rebbe of Melech. And the Melech left in the tzava. Anybody who saw him, anybody who saw the Rebbe of Melech is not going to die without doing tshuva. Says you're going to live to 500. you're going to live. You're going to Rabbi. You're going to live forever. So he starts telling him. So the Rimmen Oiver now knows what he has to do. He starts telling him, "Veist of us is a Shabbos table. The cholent's not the yikar, and veist of us is Shabbos. And what's talking the tachlis? You could have taken people and done chesed and everything. And what's a tefillah? And then all of a sudden, this yid he let it curse. On the spot, the Rimmen Oiver said that the Kohanim were always gained from the right. They went out from there, and then he died on the spot. And so not everybody's going to know the Yom HaMisa though. Not everybody's going to know. Who's going to know the Yom HaMisa that on that day? So that's our problem. Our problem is that we don't know when that day is going to come. And Memela, but if we would know, we would act differently, right? Act differently. And even Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of the parsha, the Parshas Vagelech, Moshe Rabbeinu says, today I'm 120 years. The Ksav Sefer says, until he was 120 at full koiches. But on the day that he was dying already, that day he said, now I don't have koich to go out. Until that point, he had full koiches. Full koiches. So Halavai will have the full koiches at that point, But who knows? Somebody told me, Mamash Peldik Maisa told me that in France, there was a law a few years ago, they passed that you can buy an old lady, like an old man, old lady. What does it mean? It means, let's say she doesn't have any children, right? So what's she going to do? This French lady, she's going to leave all her money to the dog, right? What is it called? The French poodle, I think, right? What's it called? The French poodle, I think, right? And she's going to leave all her money to the dog. So what do? So you find the old man and old lady, you give 500 francs a month. How much is this? A lot. in those days also, the franc was much higher. It was like $750, right? I was like, yeah, but it's like $750. That's a sach geld, right? That's a lot of money. You give 500 euro or 500 franc a month, okay? And then when she dies, so then you Irish the ganze Vermögen. The ganze Vermögen. No, so you find like a lady who's 91 years old, and let's say her name was Jean Calment. Calment, but they probably it's French, Calment or something like that. And she was 91 years old. And this fellow, André Raffray, he was 41 years old. And he met Jean. Jean was 91 years old. And he visited Jean every day to make sure she's okay. Yeah. And he gave her 500 euro a month. Okay. Jean went on to live to be 122. And that's what it says in the Guinness Book of World Records. Yeah. And she was like the oldest lady in the whole world, ever. That's what he says. Yeah. He died at the age of 72, a year before she died. He died. Yeah. He gave over $200,000. This guy. He gave over $200,000, and he didn't get a penny. Right? He didn't get a penny. Okay. So not everybody at the end is going to have koiches like that that'll be able to do tshuva. So comes again the Heilige Rambam, and he tells you, yeah, but kishem, the way that the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Heilige Bashefer gives us the din, the cheshbon, mitzvah, severis, at the end of time, when we don't have koyach, so then there's going to be, every year, you're going to have a Rosh Hashanah, where he's going to dan you, and what are the mitzvahs, and what are the averis, and now you're alive, and now you're alive, and now you're strong, and now do what's koyach, now you have koyach, and now you're able to go now, in that last week, or in the Elul, but we're now holding these. This is the last Shabbos of the year. And it's the last Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's the last week of the year. It's the last week of the year. No, so you're able now to do what you'd want to do. And the Yom said, you have koyach. And so what do you have to do this week? You have to chaperein. You have to chaperein, because this week it's kishem. That's what the Heilige Rambam is saying. That kishem, that he's shaykel, and that there's nobody in his right mind, that if he knew he had one day to live, there's nobody in his right mind. Just what's the problem? The problem is like this. The problem is we think that the pshat is, no, Rosh Hashanah. Okay, I'm alive now and I'll be alive after Rosh Hashanah. Life, what does life mean? Life doesn't just mean the heart is pounding. It means everything that goes into life. It means a life that's a good lebin. He has a parnasa. He has shalom bayis. He has happiness. He has simcha. He has gesund. He has aliket zachen. All the things that this year we saw that a lot of people suffered from. So now you have to realize that no, it's the same thing. There's no chazakas and kishem. So what would you do if you knew it was the last day? Oh, you would try to find mitzvahs and you would do whatever you can. Certainly, if you know it's the last week and you have koyach, so you do whatever you can. That's kishem. That's what it means, kishem. That's what it means, kishem. No, so Maisa. So what should we do? What should we do? In the last week, Maisa, we have to look for the biggest chosim and try and do whatever we can. For Shteitzach, the davening has to be an under davening, and the Belam Tachavera has to be under, because this is it. Pretend now, not pretend, it's real, that he's going to be shaykel. So in the last week, you can clap around and get so many mitzvahs, and that itself probably shows the Rebbeinu Shalom certain. Okay, so Maisa, I was thinking today what to be mechazik in. Maisa, it all comes down to Torah. That's it. The Maisa, when it all comes down to Torah. It all comes down to Torah. Chaim Volozhin writes in his sefer, he says, if you take all of the mitzvahs, the order of the mitzvahs, and you would do it with the Heilige Kavanas of Moshe Rabbeinu, all the mitzvahs, everybody say, all the mitzvahs, some of that we don't even have. We don't have Kavanas. You take all the mitzvahs. We believe this, everybody say, all the mitzvahs. And you do all the mitzvahs. It's a Maisa Nachal, it's not a Blat Gemara. That's it. It's Kol Chafetzecha LaYishabach. In the end of the day, it's the Torah is Talmud Torah is Keneged Kulam. And so in the end of the day, we have to be mechazik in learning this week and get more, and all the way that each word of Torah, some people are able to talk very, very quickly, and when they talk very quickly, they talk 400 words in a minute, and every single word is and some people can only talk 200 words in a minute, and times 60 in a minute, and times 60. It's billions of mitzvahs and billions of opportunities, and you tell this to your wife also, and then she'll have such a simcha from Torah, and then she'll get this guy for Torah, and she'll go and tell you to learn Torah. She might even make you go learn Torah, and then everybody will get this, and that's the schar that you need this week. Let me tell you a story. The Reb Chaim, there was in 1911, there was a big asifa in it was before the Aguda, but that was so there was a big asifa of Rabbanim to discuss Chizuk Adas and Chizuk and different things in Klal Yisrael at difficult times, obviously in those years. So Lemaisa, they didn't invite the Chofetz Chaim to the Asifa. And there were reasons why. They claimed because he was in Al Ta'id. But the Lamaisa Chofetz Chaim wasn't invited. So the Chofetz Chaim showed up anyways. Chofetz Chaim showed up and he said that, if my sister was having an operation, I would show up so the Torah, Emor Chachma Chaisiyat. The Torah is my sister, so he showed up. Now, Rechaim Soloveitchik was also invited to this Asifa, and Rechaim came al Tnai that he doesn't have to darshan. He doesn't want to speak. Rechaim was the biggest of the Gedolim and the Tzaddikim, but he didn't want to speak. Okay, and that was the Tnai, and they were accepted the Tnai. So when the Chofetz Chaim came, they asked the Chofetz Chaim to speak. So Chofetz Chaim said that he's not going to speak. He's Al Ta'id, so he's going to tell Reb Chaim to speak. So Reb Chaim said that I have this Tnai, that I don't have to speak. So Chofetz Chaim said, yeah, but I wasn't invited to the Asifa. So Mamela, I'm not bound by the Tnai, so you have to speak. So Reb Chaim spoke. So Chaim said, why is it that he didn't want to speak? Chaim gave a drasha. Why didn't he on the spot? He got up and he said the drasha. Why is it that what am I going to speak about? What am I going to speak about? So let me tell you why I didn't want to speak. He said that there was once a farmer who came to the big city. And when he came to the big city, he saw a supermarket. Market super. And that, he never saw this before. And it's gone to Lebanon. He's used to cows and horses and manure and all types of stuff. He's not used to going to the supermarket. To the supermarket. They have over there nails. Over there they sell cans of potatoes. And over there they have apples. And this place has everything. A little, you can buy a hittel, that place has masks. And whatever. Everything you need. Ooh, never saw anything like this. So he's intrigued. Who's in charge of this unbelievable thing? So he starts looking around and he sees it like sort of toward the front by the checkout counter. He sees over there, there's a person there. He's got he seems to have like a uniform. He has like a little name tag. He said, this guy, he's the person who's in charge. He's the person in charge. So he goes over to see who's this person, this mastermind behind the whole operation of it. People are waiting online to talk to him. And so one lady comes and she's holding a bag of nails. So she says to him, no, vivo cost us. How much did the nails cost? So this person behind the counter, he takes the nails, he looks at it, looks like this, like that. And he says, he looks at it again. Dry Copex. Okay. Next person takes out a bag of apples. Vivo cost us. Looks at the bag of apples. Dry Copex. Who is this guy? Doesn't seem like the most intelligent guy. Who is this guy? He looks at it, and it's all the same price. All the same. I guess. The next thing, he comes now with like a can of tuna fish. How much cost us? Vivo cost us. You know already. You know already, yeah? Dry Copex. This is too much. The place is gonna get ruined. It can't be everything costs the same amount, right? The whole place is gonna go into. So he goes and tries to find out what's going on. So finally finds somebody that no. He doesn't know the place. No. This person, his father is a billionaire. Billionaire. He's a 10,000 there. He was a billionaire. His father's a billionaire. He says when his father felt bad, his son is a lo yitzlach, he's not capable, and he's not such a capable person. And he wanted him to have something, Steller as so he opened up this ganze factory for him. He opened up the whole factory. And he knows his son's not capable of knowing prices and this, that. So everything in the store is 3 kopecks. Every single thing in the store is 3 kopecks, right? So it was not easy, but they taught him to say 3 kopecks. And they taught him to pick up the bag and to pick up the thing. And then everything that comes your way, you say 3 kopecks. And that's the whole entire tachlis of this entire factory and everything that you're seeing over here. So Reb Chaim, you want to talk about Chizuk and what we have to be mechazik and how we have to work on ourselves and what we have to. It says, by me, it all comes back to Torah. By me, everything comes back to Torah. Whether it's going to be that which we have to be mechazik in, whether it's the goyrim of all the other averas that we do, whether it's what's goyrim all of the tsaras, whether it's the biggest mitzvahs, charain chapin, it all comes down to Torah. Hat der Heilige Beschäftigt gebaut im ganzen Welt, beschafft der ganze Welt für Women, für Klal Yisrael, so that they could learn a couple of blat Gemara, so they'll learn Torah, and Memela, how much does he love us, that he made a whole world so that we could learn Torah? And then when we learn Torah, it gives him nachas ruach. Look at him; he's actually doing something in this world. So everything comes back. In the end of the day, it all comes back to Torah. So if you want to know what should we be mechazik in this kishem, in the kishem, that when we have 1 week left and now we're alive and we're strong and it's real. It's real. It's taka real. It's not just like fake. That's what it's saying. It's the spot of the chazak is like the Yom HaMisa. So then the Maisa, when it comes down to it, this week you have to mechazik in Torah. Shabbos we have to mechazik in Torah. Motzei Shabbos you have to mechazik in Torah. I'm saying B'Chedesh. Friday night you have to be mechazik in Torah. Yes, in the summer. Yes. It's not Bal Taisif Ayin or Samech. You have to be mechazik in Torah. This next week you come on time to the storm. You steig in the storm. You don't battle for a second. You're moisif a seder. You get more and more mitzvahs. And then with that, you came to Atem Nitzavim Ayoyim on Tachlis of Rosh Hashanah. Oh, then already you have a grace of chutz for the Yom HaDin. Okay, good Shabbos, Rabbi. Walk me out. I'm going out. You want to walk me out? Yeah, walk me out. Is the Torah canceled?